Welcome back, and with Full Court Press, in transition with Coach Q, and I'm so excited. I've got a legend with us, out of Pittsburgh, and those that are in Pittsburgh will know exactly what I'm talking about. I've got Dr. Karen Hall with us today, and I'm so excited. Thank you for being with me, and a little bit about Dr. Hall, and she graduated from UNLV. Was a basketball player on scholarship, and she's representing. So I had to wear that red jacket.
Yes, sir. I like it.
I was a big Tark fan back in the day, biting on that towel.
Yes.
She is also got her doctorate degree from Point Park University in educational leadership and administration, and got her master's in organizational leadership. She's an adjunct professor. She is a host and facilitator of high performance level LLC leadership learning, and produce and host of her own show, The Hall Pass leadership podcast and TV show. Also an ESPN color analyst for college women basketball. And one of the things that stood out to me most, because we can go down this long list, she's a Hall of Famer in basketball. There's so much that we're going to talk to you, and I want her to get to it, because I could be reading this for days. I'm excited about hearing this story. But if anybody knows about basketball, everybody knows about the 5-star boys basketball camp that used to be premier. She was the first women's basketball coach at this prestigious camp to coach in it. And so with no further ado, I bring to you Miss Dr. Coach Dr. Karen Hall. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited to have you. And just want to start off right now with asking you, where did all this amazing stuff come from, and what influences and who influenced you to be the person you are today?
Yeah, well, first off, Coach Q, I want to say thank you for finding me and inviting me into your space. And I'm just excited as much as you are to be able to talk about the wonderful world of athletics and education. I am here in Pittsburgh, which is my hometown. The journey started really early for me. And you talk about influences, right away I go to my parents, especially my mother, right? So, mom's always a strict one. I'm the youngest. So I have my dad wrapped around the finger.
Gotcha. Most daughters do.
Yeah. So, but mom didn't play. She really was big on education, and no matter what we did, it was get the homework done first and then go out. So this whole basketball notion, I started just hanging out with my brothers down at the basketball court, and this ball that went up and down, it kind of stuck to my hand and kept coming up and down throughout my whole life. And I really played and grew up with the guys, and got the hard knocks and gave a lot of hard knocks. But in between that, many things started for me, right? So the whole educational process, even in grade school, like I found out that, hey, I like this school thing, right? Most people at that age, we don't like school, but yeah, I like school, right? Raise your hand, bringing the homework home. So I knew that was something that my mom didn't have to force on me to get the work done. And then the basketball started. So I went to my first basketball camp when I was in 6th grade. My gym teacher said, she looks a little different than the rest of them. Let's see if she can get better at this. So I experienced my first camp when I was 12, and I found girls just like me who enjoyed basketball. And really, I'm an 80s kid. So a lot of girls weren't playing the way they are now, and even between 80s and now. And I found that I like this game, and I could be pretty good at it. So from that moment on, it was really me and my basketball, like the guys I grew up with in my neighborhood. The story would be, just call it Karen and her basketball, because that's all it was connected to. And then the travel started, right? Playing AAU. So now I started traveling all around the country, and the world opened up, Coach Q.
Yes, ma'am.
You're seeing all these phenomenal young players that are good, and you're playing against them. Now you're measuring your abilities versus girls around the country. So I had basketball, school, and travel. And I'm like, wow, this is great life, right? Just kept honing my skills. And through high school, we won a lot. We just won championships in high school. So not was I just only playing basketball, but I was introduced to this high level. Like this is how it goes. I was playing AAU with the same type of girls who had the same type of mindset, right? Championships, hard work, no excuses, just get it done. And I mastered that early. Like I really did. And the intensity of playing, I had that. Okay. And that's what I became to, that's what I knew now. Grade school, not much, but developmental. AAU started winning championships. High school, off and running with just championships, section, conference, states, right? Undefeated. So my junior year, my team is in the Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
We're the first team in the state, girls team, to win a state championship undefeated 34-0. And it still stands today.
Wow.
Yeah. So just a lot of players. So then I'm getting close to college, and most of us don't know what we're going to major in when we get to college. Well, it's kind of like the path was set because in all my travel, we went international. So we went to Stockholm, Sweden, and I kept a journal. So when I came back, one of our newspapers asked if they could detail and chronicle my journal in the paper. And I thought, oh, that's like broadcasting and journalism, like reporting. I'm like, that's what I want to do in college because I enjoyed writing. All right. So it got chronicle. And so I knew right away when I was being recruited and they would ask, what do you want to major in? I would say journalism or communication. So I was all set. So the path was laid out. I had no confusion going to college. So, I was recruited all over the country. Narrowed down my choices. Connecticut was one of them. They were not the Connecticut of today, but Gino was coach. So had I gone, I would have played for Gino, but I wanted to go west. I had Missouri, UConn, St. John's, UNLV, and USC, Southern California. So like I said, throughout my travel, I had been east. I'm from Pittsburgh, been down south. But I never been out west. The Magic Johnson, I think, and the Lakers, they had a lot to do with me wanting to go west because all he did was win championships, and it was wow, okay, he's at even higher level. So I wanted to go to Southern California, go all the way out to the coast. That way, there was for sure I'd meet Magic. But UNLV provided me more of what I could have even thought about having an opportunity to interact with Irvin Magic Johnson. So that was just phenomenal. That's one of my huge highlights of my life.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I ended up there and majoring in communications. Really good teams. We went to second rounds of NCAAs. So we won conference championships. I didn't get to a Sweet 16 or national, but actually the team 2 years after me, they made it to Sweet 16. So really proud of them and had some of the teammates that I play with on that team. So, fast forward, I'm working for the school newspaper. I'm on the radio show, so all this communication's taking place. And I thought, well, after college, I don't want to go overseas to play. The WNBA wasn't here yet. And there was several defunct leagues that has tried to get started here in the States. So I said, no, I'll trade my tennis shoes or sneakers in for my microphone. So I actually did that, graduated in 4 years at UNLV.
Okay.
And I actually ended up working in sports information at UNLV, which was my first job, which was wonderful. Except I wanted to just be the voice of the Lady Rebel basketball, which came along with the job, but I got the job in July and the season doesn't start till like November. So that was a long gap in there and I just was sitting typing in stats. And that really was not my personality. So I flew back to Pittsburgh, got a TV job at our NBC affiliate, associate sports producer. I'm like, wow, this is great, right? Doesn't happen that often when you graduate to get a job in your field. And I was lucky. So at the same time though, my basketball had just stopped. like, whoa, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
how you see people crying, like the big guys crying when they retire.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite cry, but I knew something was missing.
Yeah.
So I end up starting my coaching career. So now I have a broadcast career that's starting, and then I had got an assistant job at Duquesne University here in Pittsburgh. So now I had two careers already, two of my passions that I'm already working in.
So
So
excuse me for
yeah.
interrupting, but how did you manage that to coach and do that at Duquesne at that period?
Well, I need to say that I had to give one up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, because the TV job was like a 3 to 11 job,
Mm-hmm.
and coaching, as you know, is all day long,
Yes, ma'am.
every day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what are holidays? So it was difficult because I love both, but I was missing my basketball. So I started as an assistant at Duquesne. So I'm not going to go year by year because they kept going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I coached at every level. I've coached at Duquesne. I coached, which was Division One, mainly all Division One. So it was Duquesne, Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Wayne State down in Detroit, Michigan, North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yep.
So you see how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there were like Point Park, and I did assistant coaching men at Penn State University Altoona campus.
Okay.
And I
Now,
was,
with the process of how things are now and the big push for equity in sports, were you one of the first women coaches on the men's side? Because that
yeah,
had been like we're talking about first time this and first time that.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
and you're talking about you were an assistant on the men's side.
Yeah,
And,
so I'm
you know,
really excited about it because like I get to share this story because there's many of Karen Halls out there that were the first. So you mentioned 5-star. So for everyone and all those coaches who know 5-stars you mentioned was the premier.
yes,
So they had P1, P2, P3. So I got to coach in P2, which was still moderate level, good talent. P1 was like the Mecca,
yes,
right? But to have a woman at that time coach at a 5-star camp, period. So when they write the next 25 years, like I'll be in that because they already have the first 25. I'll be in that second 25 years of 5-star. And Howard Garfinkel, God rest his soul, he was open enough, he and Will Klein, to bring this woman into 5-star. And I got to give kudos to Tommy McConnell, who's the head women's coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, who brought me to the camp.
mm,
Because like Tom coached me and he knew my level, my IQ of basketball, and my intensity of play, and my ability to handle the atmosphere of all men, because I was the only woman there. And it
mm,
was interesting back then where I had a lot of coaches telling me, hey, I'm so glad you're here. I have a daughter. Isn't that interesting?
mm-hmm.
So I'm sure people are getting that today. But back then, when it was unheard of, Bernadette Locke was like the only person at that time. And that was probably late 90s, or like mid to early late 90s when she became
Kentucky.
the assistant coach at University of Kentucky.
Yep, with Patino.
You know, so I was like in that era, and my desire was always to after 5-star. I was first woman to play in the prestigious Connie Hawkins Men's Basketball League here in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first first woman coach to coach in it and win back-to-back titles
Oh,
in the Connie Hawkins Men's League. And USA Today actually did an article on that. That was early 90s. So I
wow.
have a lot of first women things in my world that no one knows about. But thanks to you, I get to share that
Yes,
because
ma'am.
it's important to know that although this is good today, it's not new,
Right,
right? We
right.
just don't get to share a story
Mm-hmm.
until people like you, Coach Q, give us opportunities to say, hey, the difference between now and today is exposure.
Yes, ma'am.
Like that is the major difference. Like players before me and during me, the difference was that no one got to see them the way we get to see these players,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the Cheryl Millers, the Cynthia Coopers, the Karen Halls, the Susie McConnells, you know, and so forth and so on, the Adrian Goodsons, all these women who people don't know because of the lack of exposure then. That's the biggest difference in we're excited about the exposure, but it's not new.
Yeah.
Right?
So with that, I would love to, because I know Susie's sister. She coached at Tulsa.
Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy recruited some of the kids that I coached in high school. So have a relationship with Tom and Tom.
Yep.
But who, and I would like to know, who was one of the toughest players that you played against, or one of the hardest players that you played against in the time that you played there? Because you named some amazing people that you may have played against, and I want to know who you played against.
Yeah, well, I'll go when I was at UNLV, Penny Toller, who is the former GM of the Sparks. I mean, she was probably one of the toughest players I had to play against during that time. I mean, she was just fancy, and it was coming from all kind of ways. And then also, actually before her, even though she was on my team, Mary Myers. Mary played at University of Kansas, and Magic Johnson's commercial, filling 7-Up. Well, I say Mary was filling 7-Up because she was behind the back, between the legs, dish off. And I was like a 13-year-old kid playing the Ozanam Summer League. So people may know that name because we won Ozanam National AU Championships back then. So that name is synonymous around the country with people in my era and a little bit after, and actually now, because we're still going strong. But Mary was one of the toughest players because I didn't know which way the ball was coming, right?
Yeah.
So I was just catch the ball. If I travel, don't worry about it. Just catch the ball, right? But yeah, those two players, they come to my mind right away. Pre-college was Mary Myers, University of Kansas. She's from Pittsburgh. And then Penny Toller, I believe Penny was out of Washington, D.C., who was the then player at Long Beach State University.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, Doctor, where do you see the game of women's basketball heading? The push for so many, and given, because I coach it, and I love to empower women, but the push for women to coach women's sports, but then also the push for women to be in men's sports. Like, I'm kind of confused, but as a woman who's strong in this and been in it and has seen so much, what do you take? What is your feel of where the game is going and where it should go and how it should evolve from this point right now?
Well, when I look at careers that women should be able to just be competitive like everyone else, to be hired into when we talk about collegiate professional sports, is that it still has yet to be a level playing field.
I agree.
Like Muffin McGraw, who we know just retired. Like I love what she said last year on national TV. Why are we still talking about the first this, the first that? Until it just becomes the norm to where women are coaching men, and not just as assistant coaches. Like, I know we have the Women Now coaching, but again, they have the exposure, but there's many women that of the shoulders in which they stand on that have allowed them to propel into the position that they are. But, Cheryl Miller comes to my mind. I mean, she was color analyst on TNT, right? NBA, right? She comes to my mind right away when I think about women who should have an opportunity to coach men if that's what they desire, right? I know Nancy Lieberman, she's the trailblazer of coaching men. She's always been in it, coaching men, but at that NBA level or the NFL level or soccer or whatever national sport or the Major League Baseball, you know what? There's some very talented and high IQ level women who know the business of the game, right? You have to know the business and be able to speak the language so that when you speak, gender goes away. Like, that's what I found out in my Connie Hawkins experience. I'm a little 5'4" point guard coaching all these men, 6'3", 6'9". But when I opened my mouth and I organized the team the way it needed to be, my gender went away. So it's knowing the business of sport and being able to compete for the actual job, not just because your name sounds different than his name. Like, that's not a good reason to hire someone.
So and you and I kind of piggyback off the hiring with and I know you probably follow some of that, and you may not now because you're doing so many, but with some of the hires that have happened across the country, what do you think about how ADs have gone about that? My opinion is I don't know if they're educated enough on the women's side. Now they're really educated on the men's side, I believe, but I don't know if they're really educated on the women's side. And I'd love to get your take on that approach on how people are being hired on the women's side.
Yeah, so from ADs and their mental side, they say people hire those that look like them. And on the women's side, that's not a good thing because we don't have a lot of women ADs. So I am into hiring the best candidate, but until men hire women, like I believe there need to be more women head coaches, minorities in there also coaching women. Like if that's their desire, like it shouldn't just be because Tim knows Tom and Tim is looking for a head job and he's qualified. Well, I get that, true. But until there's some kind of level playing field or just equal, not close to, because close to means there's still room not to hire women. So I think men, not being mean, but they need to feel what it's like to be qualified but not able to get that job. Right? So the mindset of ADs, I'll say, need to have a paradigm shift and say, hey, let me look at the people that they need to coach, right? And who can they learn best from? Both candidates being equal, I get it, fine, but there's a difference, right? That's the whole premise with men not hiring women as head coaches, that there's a difference. Well, the only difference is the locker room. And when you've coached men and women, you know how to handle the locker room, right? You don't change it till I come in and I'm done. Then you dress. I mean, that's as simple as it can be. And you hire your assistants to help you out with that. I mean, it's not a huge puzzle.
Yeah, and I agree to an extent with that as well. And I feel like as a minority male, I feel like there's a lot of minority males who have put a lot of skin in the game.
Yep.
That have never gotten an opportunity. And it's shocking with some of them, they have never been interviewed.
Yeah.
And have really won championships, have at all levels. But then I feel like what you're saying, I think minority males have felt that push and that touch, but at the same time, there's a lot of them that have kept fighting to stay in it because they love what they do.
Right.
And it's about the student athlete and it's about the reward, but at the same time, they love what they do.
Right.
And so my biggest thing is I wish that there was a system that, like you said, we could find balance, but it could be a system where it's all educated. Like you go in as an AD or a committee and I'm educated on what the student athletes are asking, because the student athletes would tell you who they feel, who they want, and hearing from them, and then researching on who are some of the up and coming male, female, up and coming coaches, because I really believe our coaching, like I'm 44 now and I'm an old buck in the arena, and I'm looking out and I'm like, all right, who's the next Gino? And will we have another Gino? Or will we have another Don Staley? Or will we have another, Dr. Hall? Because our people aren't being mentored in those regards because of what's in front of us. And so what do you think about that as far as what the younger generation looks like and how they're leading?
Well, I know you mentioned the word mentor, right? So I've kind of shifted away from mentor. They're needed for sure. But the difference between being hired and just knowing about the job is that sponsor. Like that sponsor pushes you over the edge and gets you into the seat, right? Gets you into the job. And as we mentor the younger generation, we also need to talk about sponsoring. Right? Who is your sponsor? And you only need one good one. If you got two, good for you, right? But you need one good sponsor that can say, hey, you know what, Coach Q, I'm going to put your name in this hat. I know this person. I'm going to get you an interview, and then we're going to help get you this job. Like that's what a sponsor does, because there's many, many, many coaches who don't have that opportunity because they have great mentors, but perhaps their mentor can't push them into the door, like the shattering of the glass. Like you need that sponsor. We can have I can mentor you, but I'm not sure if I can sponsor you into your next job. That is the difference between the two. Right? Your sponsor can open the door and push you through, right? I can't do that because I may not have that network that you need me to. And we need to really talk about sponsorship for these up and coming, and for yourself and for myself, because the knowledge that you have, right? There's someone around this country, you provide a great platform like this, but there's someone around the country on a campus or in a conference office that needs your expertise, right? And your sponsor can say, hey, I got someone that you should talk to.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And I like that. And I've never thought of it in that regard. And so I like that a lot. Yeah. Well, Dr. Hall, what is something that you would give to, before we come to our end and it closes, what is something that you would give to the young coaches, some advice that you would give to the young coaches, young ADs, just the young administrators, the young people in our business and our profession? What would you give to them? Even a young entrepreneur, a commentator, what advice would you give to them moving forward in this situation that we're in now and moving through Corona?
One would be for sure being open to change. Like being open to change. Change is inevitable. And we cannot get so stuck in where we are because that's how we do it. That's not the world we live in. The world we lived in before is gone. So now we have to be flexible. So open to change, be flexible to try the new, right? And then lastly, expand your mind. Don't just put yourself in that coach box, right? There's a huge world out there. I'm still working to get more of it.
Yes,
ma'am. But know that expand yourself while you're coaching, while you're the young AD. Committees, always get yourselves on committees. That's a network, but it's also an educational growth opportunity in the business of athletics.
Yes, ma'am. That's amazing stuff. As my buddy would say, Darren Hall would say, chicken soup good. Information right there. Dr. Hall, my last couple questions for you.
Boy.
And, I would love to know if someone were to write a book about your life, what would that title be?
I think the book would be Authentic on the Sizzling Side.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, okay. And then we look, and I'm a big movie buff too, and I got this question from one of my really good friends. We did a podcast review. Shout out to Coach H and Be Contagious. If they were doing a movie about you, who would play you?
You know what? I love the question, and the name just came up. She's versatile. She's intense. She's intelligent. Taraji P. Henson.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Taraji P. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything you would love to leave with the guests? And I know at some point we will have you back because there's so much more I think you have to give to our listeners. But I will let you have the last word.
Well, I just like to say to our listeners, allow the leader within to blossom outside.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm going to leave them with.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Hall. It was an honor and a pleasure to get nuggets from you. Those that want to contact or connect with Dr. Hall, her information will be in the bio and the links to the podcast and the YouTube channel. But for the rest of you, hope to see you guys next time. Live, love, and lead. Coach Q is out.